Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
All right, 5-2. The Flyers are 5-2. The last time we spoke, they were 3-1 to start the season. So that means they went to Nashville and won. They had an ugly loss on a Sunday where they went down 3-0 to San Jose, and John Tortorella decided to make a statement by benching, and he could say or use whatever word he wants to use. He was on the Fanatic with us saying, well, I wouldn't really call it a benching. I just liked what the other guys gave us more. And oh, by the way, this is after they lost JVR to an injury. So you're down one of your veteran forwards and you're benching two guys. Whether you want to say the word or not, you're benching those two guys. You benched them, coach. You benched them. I don't know why you're afraid to use that word. You benched them, coach. But I will say this. Both of them responded heavily with the win against Florida at the Wells Fargo Center. Travis Konecny with some beautiful passes. One behind the back to Tony DeAngelo, who scores with a nice one-timer there. Awesome. And then on the power play to find Scott Lawton with an in-close pass to that post. Outstanding. And also, without Travis Konecny keeping the puck in the zone on the power play, you're not even getting a chance to set up again. So, I just think that they both responded. Kevin Hayes with 2 assists, one of them being on the breakaway, not necessarily getting a shot off that he probably wanted to, but he stayed with the puck, looked up, found himself Joel Farabee wide open in front of the crease, and he buried it against Bobrovsky. So Carter Hart is clearly a game changer right now. I see a billion different stats. Some say 48, some say 47 saves. Quite frankly, I don't really care the number. All I know is there's a trend that's continuing to happen. Slow starts for him, but after that, he gets locked and loaded and can steal you a game. I don't know how he made the save through, I believe it was Tony DeAngelo and somebody else in front. Maybe it wasn't Tony, but anyway, it was a Flyers defenseman, and there was a battle in front of the net. Somehow he finds it in his glove, and he catches it there. But, there were so many bodies in front. That was unreal. He went post to post and made an excellent save to keep the Flyers ahead. It's outrageous what he's doing right now. Can this keep up forever? Probably not. I don't know why it seems where he needs to get a bunch of shots and a bunch of feel early before he turns into Carter Hart. That's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, you only allowed 2 5-on-5 goals. You allowed the 1 power play goal right to start the third period. But this team is showing some toughness here. First off, it was a very chippy game. And you had a lot of guys get in the faces of others and play hard-nosed. It's going to be hard to play against us. That's the message that Tortorella is teaching, and I think the Panthers realize that. After every single whistle, someone's in their face, someone's chirping. Delorier, McEwen. How about this? Nick Seeler puts a puck on net. Zach McEwen gets a stick on it. And you get a whole entire sequence here of Nick Seeler, Zach McEwen, Delorier gets on the score sheet. In what world? And this isn't the first time this happened. Nick Seeler scored a goal earlier in the season. It doesn't make any sense how this team is winning. But all that matters is they start off hot. 5-2 in their 7. That matters to me. Starting on the right foot matters to me. Blocking a billion shots, that matters to me. Because I think that really does show you the structure of John Tortorella. Seriously, Ivan Provorov goes down, but he gets up in that shift and tries to play a rush afterwards. Justin Braun gets hit in the ear. Guys are giving up their body. That's a buy-in factor. That's a buy-in description. That means everybody's on the same page. We got to do what we got to do. And I love John Tortorella's answer after the game, asking about what this team is right now. And he goes, you know what? Analytically, you're going to throw numbers my way, and our team isn't going to look good with it. There's going to be a lot of advanced metrics, a lot of numbers that people might look for to see what type of team you are, and our numbers are going to be bad. We have to find ways. It's not going to be cute. It's not going to be sexy. You got to find ways. And that's what they're doing. Blocking shots. Carter Hart standing on his head. At the end, there were so many damn shots getting thrown their way. They kept it out of the net. You're using your hands to bat the puck down in front of the net. It goes to a forward. You chip it out of the zone, and you fight to live another day. And when guys aren't performing well, whether it's Morgan Frost, who took a late penalty, or Wade Allison, who didn't eat up as many minutes as maybe you would think between those two guys, what do? You lean on some of the others. And he stated against San Jose he didn't like what he saw out of TK and Hayes, so you're not going to play. And in this game, he didn't like what he saw from Frost and Allison, so they're not going to play, which means others will. So he's stressing that I don't care what your name is. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care your status in this organization. If you're not going to focus on the details that I find important to win hockey games, and if I don't like the way you're playing, sit your ass on the bench. Did I think it was a bit extreme against San Jose? Second half of a back-to-back. You just beat Nashville the day before. You won 3-1. Joel Farabee had a couple of points, which it's nice to see him kind of get off the schneid and become a bit of a flashier player again. Kevin Hayes had some points that night, too. He finished with 2. He had a goal and an assist. It's like, was it a bit extreme? Maybe it was. But I think early, there's a tone trying to be set. But this is Torts being Torts. I'm a bit conflicted. They responded, though, and that was a big key piece to it. How would they look after that game was done? After they heard what Tortorella was thinking, it's about the following night or the following game day. What are you going to do? And they both answered big time. But at the time, I was conflicted because is it a bit extreme? Did you need to sit them down that long? But at the end of the day, that's why you hire John Tortorella, to fix the systemic issues, to fix the loser hockey that we've seen. Hell, he's even calling out Ivan Provorov afterwards. Not so much calling him out, but mentioning how he saw him last year and he was a shell of himself compared to what he was when he first came into the league. This guy just tells you how it is. But Ivan Provorov looks like a phenomenal defenseman again. Him and Tony D, they actually look pretty damn good. I'm not surprised that Tony D's playing this well because I knew he had a great offensive mind. I knew he's a pest. I knew he'd get in your face. He'd give you the stinky glove, the smelly glove, and put it in your face after a whistle and play with that edge. And if Carter Hart gets whacked with a slash after the whistle or right as the whistle's blown, he's going to let you know, give you a couple cross checks. That's what he's all about. And we need that feistiness. I just didn't know how he would look with number 1 minutes and fulfilling that role. At the end of the day, is it going to fall into the norm when it's all said and done? I still think so. But I didn't know if I'd ever see this version of Provorov this year. And I didn't know what Tony would look like. But I got to give him a lot of credit because they've been playing extremely well. And it's very entertaining. I love the offensive game of Tony. I really do. When he jumps up into the play, he makes it a 3-on-2. He's that defenseman who's high. Or he'll make it a 4-on-2 by joining. Hell, at one point I saw him on the forecheck behind the goal line getting in the corners first. But he's got so much creativity on that end, especially on the power play. He helps set it up. And speaking of power play, you lose JVR. Scott Lawton gets thrown in there, and he buries it on the backside. He's really blossomed over the years. So at one point I thought he was just going to be another guy. Well, the fact that he's got a letter on his chest with this coaching staff, he's a lot more than that. Ton of versatility, too. This is happening without Cam Atkinson. This is happening without Sean Couturier. Don't get me started on Couturier, because I think this franchise is handling this like a mess. I'm hearing some things behind closed doors that I can't necessarily say, but I don't know if everyone's on the same page on where Sean Couturier is with his health. I know I'm not breaking any news considering what we just got thrown our way, that they're taking a step back now, and now he's not skating anymore. But this is getting ridiculous. It's getting ridiculous. I don't expect to see him at all at this point, and then I'll just be pleasantly surprised if we do. But even the fact that he was on the trajectory to show up sooner rather than later. In what world, after we were hearing where he was? It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know if they have a plan, and I don't know if the people who are making the plan know what they're doing, which is a problem. And with Cam, when are we going to see him? They're far away. So I don't even know how they're doing this without those guys. Rasmus Ristolainen was able to show his face. He took that one penalty with his physical presence. See, the thing is with Ristolainen, I get there's a ton of concern, and I get there's a lot of nerves on what he is. You gave up a big package. You think about the contract he signed, and him and Travis Sanheim as a pairing last year, it didn't make me feel good. Now, they dressed 7 defensemen, so it was a bit different today, but just overall, when you think about Rasmus Ristolainen, here's where my optimism lies with that. There is something to be said about the size that he has, and there's something to be said about how John Tortorella, at least early on, seems to be getting every single inch out of every player. Does it not? Every single little part that everyone's game seems to be showing up more than not. Mistakes happen. It's a fast-paced game. You're moving up and down the ice very quickly, and your brain has a half a second to make a decision when somebody's angling your way or someone's pinching, and it's like, yeah, like things happen, no doubt, with the speed of the game being that fast. But with that said, Travis Konecny, look at how he's shining. Ivan Provorov. I think Joel Farabee will start to flourish more as he gets a couple more games under his belt, even though it's already stepping and strides are where we're expecting it to be. But, you know, he came back from a major offseason situation. Can Tortorella maximize Rasmus, and what does that look like with his body structure and his frame? I think there's something that can be done here if this identity and brand of hockey is going to continue. I'll just simplify it this way. What we saw last season, maybe it doesn't look that bad. Maybe it doesn't look as ugly. I know it's hard to think that you can win a lot of hockey games playing this way. Carter Hart having a save percentage that doesn't make any sense. You're going to need to, actually establish some more pressure instead of playing on your heels. Why do you block a billion shots? That's because the other team has the puck way more. How you made it out of that first period alive is ridiculous. But credit on pouncing on the very limited opportunities because the shot disparity was wild. And Carter Hart allowed a couple of weak ones. The first goal trickled through, and as he was sitting there thinking that he had the puck, you could see it behind him, and it's rolling through the crease before it gets to the back of the net. And then the short side goal. I didn't think he did a good job controlling his rebounds early on. But as I saw the game continue to play out, I realized we're getting the same story again. And I don't know if this is because of lack of pucks in the preseason and the lack of seeing shots, so he just needs to get more of a feel. But I don't know, maybe it's just an individual game thing. Because it seems maybe the first 10 to 12 minutes or so, he's not fully locked in, but once he feels a few shots, that's all she wrote. Big glove saves, big pad saves, squaring up, taking away angles, 2-on-1s, odd man rushes. He's there. He's a steady rock. And he's really proven it. That's another thing, too. It's not just the forwards and the defensemen. And Tortsy's very vocal about, I don't really do much with the goalies. I have a goalie coach for that. So I talk to him about what he's seeing, and then from there, I just take his information, and then we make a decision. But they study the goalies more than I do. But I think because of where everybody is at with the new approach and the new locker room, the goalie's no different. Like, the goalie's going to rise, too, because of the way Tortsy handles things. And I remember asking Torts, what do you think about Carter Hart? Haven't really seen him yet. Hasn't played live games in the preseason. I don't know. I don't know what he is. I know a lot of the fans put a lot of pressure on him. I know that there's a lot of young goalies that take a lot more time. I know he has a lot of experience for his age, but there's reasons why goalies don't come up so quickly. Almost publicly saying, yo, dude, let's go. He keeps it 100. He's going to be 1,000% honest. And I think players hear it. They see it. They listen to it. So Carter, during training camp, hears that and goes, all right, coach. And now this is what you get because of it. At some point, though, I'd imagine fatigue is going to play a role with him. Like, this is outrageous. But the question becomes, whenever he does tail off, does another part of the team step up their game? So it's no longer an issue in a different area. So there's a wash, and you still continue to win games. Because we can't lie. The way they're doing it, pulling wins out like this, it's like, all right, I'm happy in the moment, and I'm happy this is the start. Because if you start the other way, you automatically can really spiral. So I'm enjoying watching this team. I went to work today, and I drove home an hour on the Schuylkill, bitching and complaining that that there was too much traffic, and I couldn't get home quick enough as my dog was in the crate. And I wanted to get home to her because she doesn't like it, and she's got separation anxiety. I said, I can't wait to sit on the damn couch and watch this team and see how they perform after losing to this Florida team down in Florida. They recently played them. I like seeing how teams respond to seeing another squad in a very short amount of time. Because that hatred, it's still there. Whatever happened in that night, it rolls over. If you see a team in October and then you don't see them again until February or January, and there's a big break because you go to the West Coast, you get a couple of home games against a different, whatever. Obviously, there's a bunch of teams in this damn league. Well, it doesn't carry over the same way. You just lost to them, you went into their barn, and you came out with an L. Does that piss you off? How bad does that piss you off? And then power play becomes a factor. I love their power play. It's incredible to see them actually have a thought process throughout, using a bumper. Or Travis Konecny with a one-timer at the top of the blue line, at the top of the point. Couldn't get the word point out of my mouth for some reason. 5-2, man. 5-2. Tippett returned for whatever that's worth. I don't know what he's going to be, but he's interesting. That's how I kind of describe it with Owen Tippett. He's interesting. He did have an assist today with 3 shots on goal. Lawton had 5 shots on goal. He had a bingo. McEwen's presence is being felt. And I'm going to have to say this, all right? And I don't know how long this is going to last, and trust me, this does not mean, let me repeat this very loudly before we get to the Anytime Hotline and read a couple text messages. This does not mean it's justifiable if you're Chuck Fletcher to give Delorier the contract that he got. But I do think that there's areas of this game and with this team specifically that he's showing his value. Now, his value isn't massive. His value isn't huge. There's probably a bunch of people without that contract that could fill some sort of role in that way, whether it's a body and you throw a check their way that could spark something, whether it's just being mean after the whistle or in front of the benches, you're giving guys a couple cross checks and you're just starting turmoil, whatever it is. Plenty of guys can do it. It doesn't need to be that contract, Chuck Fletcher, at all. But he's here, and all I can do is judge the play. And I think at times, I've noticed his role. For whatever it's worth. All right? Let's go to some text messages here. Jordan from Westchester. Hello, Jordan. Thank you for the text message. What is your favorite part of John Tortorella? I think it's his honesty. He says it how it is. His press conferences, his radio interviews, whatever it is, when he gets asked, he just lets you know. Yeah, he sucked. Yeah, he wasn't good. I thought he was bad last year. I need way more. He's got to dig deeper. He can't be having those turnovers. Or, it was excellent. That's what I'm looking for. I'm so proud of this team. Sure, it wasn't pretty. Sure, it wasn't a tic-tac-toe. But that's not who we are. We're going to have to chip pucks out of the zone, get in on the forecheck, establish a neutral zone presence, force them to dump it, and then maybe we can get to the pucks first in our D zone, break out, and let's start over again. If that happens, get in on the forecheck. All right, if the forecheck doesn't work, what do we do from there? Good breakout. We start back up in transition. We get it behind their goal line. And then the second time around, we got what we wanted. We got a turnover, which popped the puck up to the point. We walk the blue line. We get a shot. I'm just randomly throwing out a scenario. But if something happens in the game, whether he likes it or doesn't like it, you'll know. And I feel the players are responding to that in a way that it might be in a way of fear. It smells that way. If you know you don't do it, you're not going to see the ice time. So there's power. If you're the head coach, you have a fear power. But I don't care what it is. In the NHL, you could be a soft coach. You get walked all over. You could be a hard-ass coach. You're on to the next team in the next 3 years. You could be in somewhere in the middle. You're probably getting fired after 4. Welcome to the National Hockey League. So if you're aggressive, so be it. Although with him, if you do look at his track record, he was in Columbus for a bit of time with this style. No, I don't want his actual stats. I want his coaching stats. He was in Tampa Bay for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. In New York for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons. Had a Vancouver in there, and then Columbus for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons. So 6 years, that range. Before things run dry or whatever it is. My favorite part is how he lets you know. Because I think the results we're seeing is because of that. Even if it's not just to us or the fan base, because whatever he says in those situations, he's saying to them on the ice, or he's saying to them at practice, or he's saying to them in the office. This person did not leave a name. I can't believe. I'm sorry, but this is not the way we will win games. It feels fake, and I can't get attached to their style. I have no words for you, because I can. I can get attached to this. Muck and grind. Brutal. Hold on to your seat. Strap up. What did you expect them to be? Did you expect them to just blow? Probably. But hypothetically speaking, if they were to change the narrative a little bit, and they weren't going to be as gruesome as you thought, and they would actually show more fight and more work ethic instead of the disaster that was last year with Alain Vigneault. Just work with me for a bit. Let's say you thought, all right, they were going to be bad, but if they weren't, how would you have laid this out? Steven Stamkos and Kucherov? Pasta and Brad Marchand? Like, what did you think? Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews in their prime? I was going to say Claude Giroux and Jake Voracek, but shame on me. As if they were in the same tiers as the other guys. I love me some G. And even seeing the Panthers play, because of where I was emotionally last year, watching that playoff run, it's a bit odd because I missed that man. And I still keep my eyes out on what's happening in Ottawa just because he'll always have a place in my heart, damn it. This was the only way, and I mean the only way, that you would have seen any games won in a miserable form. But when you look at the NHL standings on NHL.com, it doesn't say wins and losses, but in hideous form. Just says wins and losses, baby. That's all that matters. I'm not sitting here telling you this is a Stanley Cup team. I'm telling you, enjoy it. If you're not going to enjoy it, then what's the point? Are you a hockey fan? Are you a Flyers fan? Are you more of a casual who just want them to blow it up for the number one prospect who's going to be sensational in Bedard? I can't be outraged. I'm sorry. I'm just sitting back and enjoying. I'm just sitting back and seeing what it is. You're going to have to let it play out because this was a very awkward spot to be in as a fan base before the season began. With the bar set so low, but a coach in here with a pedigree that has respect, knowing that there would be some sort of respect from the players too, answering. But what would the conclusion be? There were a lot of questions. Who's Provorov? Who's Carter Hart? Can he stay healthy too? And then he starts the season off not healthy enough to see preseason, but then you lose your number one center in Sean Couturier, your number one goal scorer in Cam Atkinson. JVR is now lost for a bit of time, who can play on the power play and be a big body, and at the worst is a veteran body who can play a specific role for you. A third-line wing. I don't know. I just don't get that. Because it seems like you're mad. Well, why be mad? What are you mad about? There's no one that should be mad right now. So anyway, thank you guys so much for kicking it with me tonight. So we had to check in with the Fly guys, of course. Over the weekend, it's going to be Phillies baseball and the Eagles, no doubt about it. But we'll continue to check in on this team as games get played. They play Carolina on Saturday, and then it is, what's after Carolina? The Rangers on Tuesday in New York. The Maple Leafs in Toronto on Wednesday. You go play Ottawa to see Claude Giroux on November 5th. The Blues, the Blue Jackets, the Senators at home at 1 o'clock. Little Claude Giroux return to the Wells. So, all right. That's what I've seen so far. That's how I'm approaching it all. Thank you guys. You're the best. I love you. Catch you on the next one.